You are not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. This tea is piping hot and it's absolutely ridiculous and unbelievable. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Grab your emotional lip gloss because we're about to get into it. Welcome back to my channel, In Frame with Mandy Magnan. Would you believe me if I tell you that Miss Snake Lively, while giving the Time 100 speech about her mom being almost unalived by a coworker, that coworker was a woman? I hear the streets calling. Yep. And what are they saying? Yeah, they're saying that the woman was the one that got into it with Blake's mom. And this is before Blake was born. So now we're talking about almost 40 years ago? Yeah, liar, liar, pants on fire. I cannot believe what I'm hearing. I wasn't even going to do a video today because it's Sunday and I was going to rest and wait for everything for tomorrow because I really want to get into the Jed Wallace motion. And I think straight after this, I'm just going to do the Jed Wallace video but this just came to me. I just found this information out. And every time I go back to Blake's Time 100 speech, I get even more infuriated because it's absolutely astonishing that they are already immediately pulling this big PR stunt. And what they are trying to do is immediately rebrand Blake into being a philanthropist, an advocate for women, a women's rights, advocate, to use the word again. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to rebrand her as this big, powerful woman who stands up for what's right, for female rights, etc., etc., etc. Mom of the year, wife of the year, blah, 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 blah. Let's not forget the reason why she was at the Time 100 and named as the Titan apparently was for a donation back in 2018 for the NCAAP. So, first of all, what? What is going on? So you're telling me that a woman who made a donation to the NCAAP back in 2018 gets a Titan Award at the Time 100 in 2025. If that isn't already strange enough, right? Then, on top of that, she stands up and gives a speech that has nothing to do with the reason why she's there, insinuates that her mother is a victim of, she doesn't come out and say it, but that a man tried to unalive her. And now we're learning that that was a woman. I'm just so flabbergasted. I know they're trying this big rebrand, but guess what? Change, Blake, takes time. Okay? Change takes time. You're still in a battle. Last week we found out about the sham lawsuit. You are literally like, I'm just like, ew, gross, gross, gross. You guys need to go away. We're not dumb. We're not stupid. We see through it. The audacity and literally the absolutely disgustingness that I feel for Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively right now is monumental because I'm now like, if the speech wasn't already bad enough, now learning that she was insinuating stuff to make people believe something that isn't even true about workplace violence. Oh my gosh. If Blake was a true philanthropist and if Blake was a true advocate for women's rights, she knows that by standing up in that room and giving a speech would have taken all of the attention to her. She's a narcissist, and that's what she wanted. All of the headlines, all of the attention, so that when people look back at this time, if you look at all the headlines right now, it's like, Blake speaks up about her mom. Blake speaks about workplace harassment. Blake's an advocate. Da-da-da-da-da. That's what they want. They want this whole rebrand. But if she were a true advocate for women, she would have sat down and said nothing because she took all the attention away from all of the other women that were there. absolutely disgusting. I'm literally infuriated. This is like lie after lie after lie. And obviously, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are watching all of our social medias. Of course, they see all of the headlines, and they probably have people trying to like steer them in the right way of PR and their image branding and rebranding. And it's not going to work because it's overnight. Now Ryan Reynolds is coming out being like, I'm the supportive husband and I'm this and this. And Blake Lively's going, I'm an advocate for women. No, you're not. Because we've seen what you've been doing the last 15 years. And the only reason why you made that payout to the NCAAP is because you were under fire for getting married on a freaking plantation. Let's not forget. Okay, so if you were going to stand up and say anything, what you should have been talking about is the reason why you were there that night. But instead, you tried to trick us, you tried to manipulate the public, and you lied again. And this one is bad. It's real bad. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And since we're on it, let's just look at this little speech once again by Miss Blake Lively at the Time 100.
I have so much to say about the last 2 years of my life, but tonight is not the forum. What I will speak to separately is the feeling of being a woman who has a voice today. And since I could speak, because of the pain, caution, and fight of the many women who have paved the way and the men who stood beside them. Millions I will never know the name of, because every life, every act, big or small, affects another.
You will never know the name of them because when you were asked on the end, It Ends With Us press tour, if people saw you or if they've gone through anything like Lily Bloom, your character, how should they approach you? What should they say? And you made a mockery of it. What do you want? Should I give them my FaceTime? Should I give the? Ugh. And you know what? Tonight was not the night for you to talk about anything you've been through in the last 2 years, which was what? Which was what? Because everything you've said so far in your claim have been proven to be a lie. So you're taking literally survivor stories, women's stories who go through everyday real pain, real harassment in and outside of the workplace, actual trauma. And you're trying to adequate it and make it the same as what you got paid $3 million to be on a movie. And everything you've said that was your harassment has been already disproved before you even went to court, baby.
Before I say more, I want to warn that I will speak about tonight covers trauma, so please feel free to step away if you need.
You can tell that she's never ever said anything before about trauma or anything because honestly, she didn't even give anyone any choice to be able to walk away. Hey, I'm going to be talking about trauma, so please leave the room. Blah, 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 blah. You have literally 0.2 seconds if this triggers you.
My life was influenced most by my mother, sitting here tonight, Willie Elaine McAlpin. She's an eternal optimist, and she's always leaving me messages, hooping and hollering and saying, "Woo, life's just a bowl of cherries." It's true, always. And she'll get your number tonight, and she'll leave you those messages, so please be warned.
So funny that she says, oh, and my mom will get your number tonight and she'll send you text, because now what we're hearing through the grapevine is your mom's not such a nice person either. Not such a nice person either. And that is a point to cover the fact that we were all blasting Blake about what I said earlier when they were asked, how do they approach you? How did that? She's like, what? Do they want to like FaceTime me? Should I put them on the thing? Should I do this? That's a point to that, is that, no, we're good people. We'll talk to you. She'll text you.
At her urging and her unwavering bravery, she wanted me to share with you that she is a survivor of the worst crime someone can commit against a woman.
She is a survivor of the worst crime somebody can commit against a woman. Okay? Right.
I've watched her conceal her raw and undeserved shame my entire life. So as her daughter, being asked to share this today is monumental. If we name it, we change it. Just as our fellow Time 100 honoree, the incredible Giselle Pelicot, put it to every woman who understood.
Keep Giselle's name out of your mouth, Blake Lively. How dare you? How dare you talk about Giselle? How dare you even bring up her name in this forum? Okay? Like, you're like, oh, I've been through so much in the last 2 years. Like Giselle Pelicot. Are you absolutely freaking delusional? This is Giselle Pelicot. She was born in 1952. She is a wonderful, strong, brave, incredible French woman. And she was drugged and raped by her husband many times over a 9-year period between 2011 and 2020. Her husband would go on websites and invite men over to come and sleep with his wife while she was unconscious, unknowns to her because he would secretly drug her. She only found out about this when her husband was arrested for, I believe it was like looking up a woman's skirt or something, but he was arrested for doing some pervy stuff, and the cops confiscated his computer and found all of this stuff that he was doing to his wife. Dominique went to court with 50 men. She waived her right to have the trial behind closed doors and made it a very, very public thing. She spoke on behalf of victims of sexual assault, and what she went through, I can't even begin to fathom, and to have the strength to make it publicly, to bring awareness to it. And she was named on the list of Time's 100 women. In December of 2024, while Blake Lively and the New York Times and Stephanie Jones were all colluding together to create this fake story about It Ends With Us and Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer team, Dominique was in court. And her husband, along with 51 other men, were convicted, found guilty of rape, attempted rape, sexual assault, and more. The 51st man who was not convicted of rape in Giselle's case was actually convicted of raping his own wife. Giselle stands for victims. What she did and how publicly she made it when she had a choice to keep it behind closed doors is a true advocate. And Blake, even speaking her name, I can't. I really can't, guys.
It's not for us to have shame. It's for them.
I just can't. I just can't. I cannot believe that they did this. But the joke that keeps on giving, the delusion that keeps on going, it never ends, because now they're back in the public eye at the Wrexham game. They're acting like everything is normal. Everything's Gucci. Everything's so good. Like they're not in a battle where they're going to lose $400 million. And at this point, maybe they know they're going to lose and they're just like getting on with their life and like speeding up the process or something. But really what I really am like wondering is, where are your kids? Where are your kids? Because y'all say that you don't use nannies. You're literally in every tabloid, on every social media content creator's page, on every single story. You're being dragged. You've broken the law. What you guys did with that sham lawsuit now, some are saying is super illegal. It might get a lawyer disbarred. You tore Jed Wallace's life apart, Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan. You're trying to ruin innocent men's lives, including Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, Adam Munchin, who played the OBGYN. You're doing all of this, And you guys are just out living your best lives. The SNL 50, the Time 100. And now you're just flown away to go to a freaking soccer game, acting like everything is so great. Well, if you guys think it's such a big joke, then you don't mind us taking you guys as such a big joke either and thinking this whole thing is a big ol' sham, because it is. Because you guys are liar, liar, pants on fire. You're narcissistic, manipulative, and you're just plain mean. You're monsters. And this whole rebranding of trying to be like the best, cute, loving, amazing couple and like blah, 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 and advocates for people. Come on, Ryan, we've done deep dives on you, bro. We know. We know. We know. Okay, guys, it's not going to work. It's actually so disgusting. Whenever you think it can't get any more distasteful and they can't get any lower, they get even more low. I can't even believe it. Let's just look at some of the pictures that Miss Blake Lively has posted on her Instagram, because she is so traumatized. This whole thing. She can't get out of bed. Her whole business is suffering. Her whole life is suffering. All of her career is suffering. Everything. It's just been so devastating. It's so traumatizing. But look, she still can't go anywhere without promoting her Betty Buzz. Look at that little smile. Look at it. Oh my gosh, I'm ruining someone's life. Ha 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 ha. You guys can't do anything about it. Laughing in our faces. Oh yeah, just great. Phenomenal. Wow, Betty Buzz. Oh my god, look at that ass shine. Here's a picture that was taken, but careful, buddy, because you're going to be next. You're going to be sued. You're going to be on the New York Times. You're going to be next. New York Times article. Man, fan at Wrexham game sexually harasses Blake Lively. They just look so pressed, you know? How traumatizing. Oh my gosh, this is just so awful. And then, of course, one for the camera, because we have to do PDA. We have to tell everyone. We have to tell everyone that we're in love. We need to kiss, 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 kiss. Make sure they get it. Did you get it, baby? We're in love. We're happy, guys. We're happy. We're so happy. We're so happy. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Get out of here. Go away. Go away. What you guys are doing is so unhinged. Do you not understand? It's actually crazy. Like, am I the only one that thinks that this is so nuts? Usually what happens whenever anybody, celebrities or not, but let's just talk about celebrities. Or let's just talk about everybody. Usually what happens when something of this magnitude, or when you have a lawsuit pending, or when you're going through anything within the courts, or you're being blamed for something, or, you know, whatever. Do you know what most people do? Is they lay low. They lay low. They say nothing, they do nothing, they kind of go into hiding until it's all gone over. What celebrities do, because we've seen rebrands a lot. Let's talk about Will Smith. Slap heard across the world. He was at his highest, right? When that happened. He was at his highest, slaps him, and then guess what? We didn't hear from him for years. Only now is he starting to pop back up with this new mantra of like, when you think you have it all and you're searching and you get all of your dreams come true, then you find out that's not what happiness is. Like, he's doing a whole Jim Carrey rebrand on like spirituality and God and faith, and I love that, because I'm always going to be here for God. Do you know what I'm saying? Now what's going to happen, I feel like, is Blake is going to do the same thing. Like, oh, well, that didn't work, so now let me be a volunteer, and she's going to go and volunteer places. Or let me go to church and and show that I'm like a godly woman as well. And they're going to go through this whole rebrand. But the problem is, sweetheart, is it's happening overnight, and it's so freaking fake Lively. It's fake. We know the real you. Change like that doesn't happen overnight. A transformation like that doesn't happen just within a couple of months. And if it does for you and Ryan, please drop the therapist, yeah? Let us know who you're working with. To stand up at the Time 100, and what all the tabloids and headlines are running with is that Blake insinuates Justin Baldoni, it ends with us. Blake advocates for workplace harassment. Blake talks about her mom's story. First of all, in that speech that we got, she didn't really say anything that was triggering, so I don't know why she had to give a freaking warning for it. Okay? What? It was weird. And now to know to know that it was a woman, a coworker? Nah, bro, get out of here. You're done. I don't want to see anything from you guys again. No more speeches, no more red carpet. It's over. Okay? It's over. If you lied about this, my gosh, stop lying. Who lies this much? Who lies this much? Like, I'm sorry. I know I'm going off and I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but like, are we being serious? Ugh. Okay, but since he does lie a lot, liar, liar, pants on fire, Blake Lively, let's get into the Jed Wallace motion right now because I'm into it. It's only 26 pages. I already have it downloaded from Court Listener. We're going to get into it. I haven't read it yet, so this is a first. This is going to be a first where I don't highlight any of the relevant stuff, and we're just going to go through it together. Shouldn't take very long. It's only about 25, 26 pages, but yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'm so sorry about that rant. I'm just utterly disgusted by them. Honestly, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So you can tell I was not ready to go today. I don't have anything highlighted. We're going through it together. Okay, so let's start here. So yes, Jed Wallace, this is his reply to Blake Lively's like over 800 page amended lawsuit towards Jed Wallace. And I feel so bad for Jed Wallace. Like, before we even get into this, I find it very despicable that Blake Lively in her lawsuits named everyone that she's bitter and wanted revenge against and thought that everyone that was out to get her, she named in her lawsuit. Yet the people that she talks about in her lawsuit, like the people she was texting, the other actresses, her friends that she was messaging, etc., aren't named. Also, like, never brought up anything that she was like had to get counseling, medical, like, not that you have to put those documents in there, but like, she didn't name anyone except for the people that she thought that were against her. And she specifically named Jed Wallace, as well as in the New York Times article, they named so many content creators and like TikTokers and stuff. And those people ended up getting like a lot of hate towards them. It's just like absolutely despicable to me, the lengths that they will go to step on people that they think are not of value or are smaller than them or weaker than them. And they really show that big, powerful people are willing to do whatever it takes to save their reputation, because their reputation brings in millions and millions of dollars. And I just feel bad for all of like the small people who are here. They don't deserve it. None of the people deserve this. Like, we all know by now that Blake Lively's hate, not that word, but criticism, all of the criticism and backlash that she was getting on It Ends With Us was from her own wrongdoing, her and her husband, and maximum effort. So if she's going to sue anyone, she literally should be suing herself and her husband. With that being said, we are here with Jed Wallace's response. Jed Wallace is in Texas, so what they're trying to do is also, he wants it in Texas. That's currently where it's being litigated right now, and Blake wants to have it in New York. And she put out this whole 800-page thing. We already went through some of it. I think we went through like 125 pages or something, not even all of it. But this is his response, so let's just get into it. Wow, spicy today. Jed Wallace street relations, Blake Lively defendant. Jury trial demanded. Plaintiff's First Amendment to the Honorable... Gosh, we're not off to a good start here. To the Honorable Court, Jed Wallace and Street Relations Inc. Street collectively plaintiffs bring action against Blake Lively or defendant for defamation as follows. Jed Wallace works from home in the Texas Hill County for Street, a small Texas company he founded and owns. Wallace was described by one of Lively's attorneys as living in the shadows with no online presence and no public profiles. That ended on the Friday before Christmas, December 20th, 2024, when his privacy was shattered to be replaced by the harsh and, in this case, false, defamatory, and undeserved glare of the Hollywood spotlight involving two of the industry's biggest names. Lively and Justin Baldoni. And the movie they starred in, It Ends With Us. On that day and before, Lively provided the press with her 3-page form employment complaint filed with the California Civil Rights Division, the CRD complaint, naming Wallace and Street as respondents and alleging they had sexually harassed Lively and then retaliated when she reported the harassment, and a 62-page, 203 numbered paragraph draft complaint purportedly attached to the CRD complaint listing Wallace and Street as defendants regarding 10 claims ranging from sexual harassment to breach of contract, and asserting that the harassment had taken place on the set of the movie and the retaliation occurred in the days leading up to the film's release. Wallace and Street were never on the set of the film or otherwise involved in its production, and their limited and sole involvement in gauging public reaction to the film and its start occurred after the film's release, not in the days leading up to it. The filings with the California agency are not available online and only available to the public pursuant to a written request for public information. And yet that night at 8:48 p.m., the day the CRD and draft complaints were filed, a reporter sent Wallace an urgent page and a half email which stated that she had learned that Miss Lively filed a legal complaint against you, alleging sexual harassment, retaliation, among other claims. She described details from the draft complaint, including that the complaint includes extensive private text messages and emails which include exchanges involving you. She added that court records show that your clients have included Paramount Pictures, an obscure fact not easily uncovered. The reporter demanded that we need to hear back from you by tomorrow, Saturday, by noon Eastern, at least as early as 5:26 a.m. the next day, Saturday, which is before noon on most clocks. The reporter's newspaper posted the draft complaint, which was only a draft and never filed in any court, on its website under the banner, Read the Complaint. The document remains on the website today. Lively provided all this information to the reporter and her newspaper. That Saturday, December 21st, 2024, media including the New York Times, The Hollywood Reporter, TMZ, E! News, Variety, Today, CNN, People Magazine, which named Wallace, Fox News, and USA Today all reported on the CRD complaint or the draft complaint, giving prominence to Lively's allegations. The next day, additional media, including at least 3 outlets in Texas, reported on the complaints. The CRD and draft complaints, or the contents thereof, had been shared by Lively with multiple media, although she granted one newspaper exclusive access to thousands of pages of text messages and other documents, which were reviewed by the newspaper. As noted in a lengthy article published within hours of the CRD and draft complaints filing under the headline, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Campaign." Smear machine. Then on New Year's Eve 2024, the draft complaint, which had by this time grown into a 93-page, 327 numbered paragraph, the real complaint, was filed in the United States District Court of the Southern District of New York. The footnote here is, when referring to Lively, we mean to include her agents, including her lawyers, consultants, and husband Ryan Reynolds, and their related entities, including but not limited to Betty Boo's LLC, Blake Brown, Aviation, Gin, Mint Mobile, and Maximum Effort Productions. Yes, we do. When we talk about Blake, we talk about all of you, okay? New York case, but the real complaint, unlike the CRD and the draft complaints, did not include Wallace or Street as defendants or respondents. The reason for this omission was certainly known to Lively. There was and is no evidence to support the defamatory statements of and concerning Wallace or Street made in either the CRD or draft complaints or the press reports republishing her defamatory allegations. They had nothing to do with the production of marketing of the film. This lack of proof explains why 3 weeks later, Lively sued Wallace in Texas state court to obtain potential evidence of Wallace's alleged involvement in this matter. What She didn't even have proof. Is this how court works? Hey, I think this person did something to me and I don't have evidence, so let me sue them first, and then maybe I'll get evidence, and then maybe it will prove what I'm saying, and then maybe it will be true. Maybe after I sue them. That's not how it works, sweetheart. Okay? That's crazy. This is an abuse of power, and I think the judicial system, if I'm being absolutely 100 with you, okay? So this lack of proof explains why 3 weeks later, Lively sued Wallace in Texas state court to obtain potential evidence of Wallace's alleged involvement in this matter. When retaining one of Wallace's former lawyers who had represented him in a matter involving Paramount Pictures to prosecute the Texas lawsuit against him, to defend this case and serve as co-counsel with Lively's 5 other lawyers in New York. She got one of Jed Wallace's former lawyers who had represented him in a matter involving Paramount Pictures to prosecute the Texas lawsuit against him, to defend this case and serve as co-counsel with Lively and 5 other lawyers against this one little Jen Wallace. Girl, what? That is nasty of you. That is so, whatever. And I mean, yeah, she has 5 lawyers. She probably has like 25 now. That lawyer filed a lawsuit against Wallace in Hays County, Texas, seeking to take his deposition. Lively represented to the judge under oath that she needed the discovery to understand and evaluate claims so that any suit filed by Lively against Wallace is supported by competent witness testimony and evidence. Wow. So she's literally saying in this statement to the judge that she doesn't have evidence about the smear campaign. She doesn't have it. The lawyer filed a lawsuit against Wallace in Hays County, seeking to take his deposition. Lively represented to the judge under oath that she needed the discovery to understand and evaluate potential claims, so that any suit filed by Lively against Wallace is supported by competent witness testimony and evidence. So she has nothing. And had nothing at the time of filing all of these freaking lawsuits. You have to be kidding me. I'm swearing that without this evidence, any lawsuit against Wallace would be groundless and in bad faith, or for harassment or improper purpose under Texas civil practice and rem as prohibited. In other words, she sought from a Texas judge in Texas evidence from a Texan to support her false claims in her CRD and draft complaints targeting as to Wallace and Street, Texas residents. The Texas lawsuit was done purposely, and Lively paid a fee to the Hays County clerk to avail herself of the privilege of conducting activity in the Texas court system, and she listed 10 lawyers: Prather, Gottlieb, Bender, Hudson, Rouser, Noble, Keck, Fillion, Wallace, and Mitchell from 3 law firms, Haynes and Boone, Wilkie, and Manat, as her representative contacts for the case. The Texas lawsuit related directly to a claim of or defense in this lawsuit, that is, truth or falsity and fault. As we shall see, Lively purposely turned away from her self-styled investigation into the truth, which is probative of both negligence and actual malice. What happened next is remarkable. Without waiting for the Texas judge to rule, and accordingly, without taking Wallace's deposition, Lively dismissed her Texas lawsuit falsely, actually preposterously claiming to the court that Baldoni's lawyer, in a hearing in the New York City case, suggested that she do so. What? Brian Freeman, are you reading this? What happened next is remarkable. Without waiting for the Texas judge to rule, and accordingly without taking Wallace's deposition, Lively dismissed her Texas lawsuit falsely, actually preposterously claiming to the court that Baldoni's lawyer, in a hearing in the New York case, suggested that she do so. Why would he suggest anything to you? And then, without any evidence and knowing, obviously, that neither Wallace nor Street had sexually harassed her or retaliated against her for publicizing the allegations or breached a contract with her, no such contract exists, she joined Wallace and Street in the New York complaint as defendants, claiming that Wallace and Street relations intentionally violated Miss Lively's right under the California Fair Employment and Housing Act with malice, oppression, and fraud. She added in the New York case that Wallace and Street acted despicably, maliciously, fraudulently, and oppressively with the wrongful intention of injuring Miss Lively. She branded Wallace as evil, claiming he had no regard for the rights or safety of Lively and others and intentionally caused her extreme emotional distress. Finally, she claimed Wallace and Street placed her in a false light, forgetting perhaps that neither Texas, which is home for Wallace and Street, nor New York, where Lively lives, recognizes this claim, which is without merit in any event. Preach! Preach to the choir. Hey! Thank you. After this lawsuit on February 4th, 2025, and after she sued Wallace and Street February 18th, 2025 in New York, amended New York lawsuit, Lively, accompanied her publicists Leslie Sloan and Jamie Candle, appeared at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, where on information and belief... Whoa, what happened? On information and belief... She made additional false and defamatory remarks of and concerning plaintiffs. Specifically, when confronted by a Texas resident who stated that Blake lies and referenced justice for Justin, Lively never admitted that her statements were false, but rather allowed her lies to stand, thus defaming plaintiffs by, at the very least, implication. On information and belief, while in Austin, Lively made additional defamatory remarks concerning plaintiffs. Discovery will reveal the extent of those statements. During her stay in Texas, Lively also traveled to Waco to visit Chip and Joanna Gaines' hotel, and while there engaged in a confrontation with a young girl who was attempting to take Lively's photograph. On information and belief, Lively made additional defamatory comments about plaintiffs, purposefully availing herself of the Texas forum. Discovery will reveal the extent of those remarks. So she was in Texas talking smack about not only Justin Baldoni, but Jed Wallace in his home state, girl. And the only story I know about Blake, attacking a fan was that story at the other hotel. But I think that hotel, what was it called? 1928 or 18 whatever, some hotel like that. So now we have a whole other situation here, and apparently he has witnesses. He has witnesses that says that she was continuing to defame him in his home state, girl. Come on, please. On February 5th, 2025, plaintiffs demanded that Lively retract, clarify, or correct defamatory statements made by her. On March 7th, 2025, Lively availed herself of her rights under Texas law and demanded certain information from plaintiffs under the statute. Plaintiffs complied. As of this filing, Lively has neither retracted, clarified, nor corrected her defamatory statements, even though she knows that plaintiffs had nothing to do with the alleged sexual harassment, and further knows that she may avoid punitive damages for part of the claim if she were to retract, again, availing herself to the protection afforded by the Texas law. All conditions precedent to the filing of this suit have been satisfied by plaintiffs. Lively reasonably foresaw that her furious allegations would be republished by the media worldwide, and that this form of hell would be visited upon plaintiffs who, it should be noted, never did anything to earn her scorn. Well, is it getting hot in here, or is Blake actually going to be going to hell for what she's done to these people? I mean, it is true if she does make a statement now and retracts it if she would have retracted it in January and February and March before going out on all of these, doing this whole show, I think people would have found forgiveness and grace to her and Ryan, or I to her, Ryan by association, I suppose, but it's a little bit too late. I think now it's just gone a little bit too far. Do you know what I'm saying? Wallace is a citizen of Texas and resides in Dripping Springs, which is within the Austin Division of the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas. He owns a small company, Street, a crisis mitigation firm primarily helping families and individuals who find themselves unjustly attacked, extorted, doxed, swatted, scammed, or needing help navigating their most frightening situations. Doing so requires a low profile so that when people retain Wallace and Street, they do not call attention to themselves. Attention that would harm the goals of their recovery, which in some cases includes addiction. Street is a Texas corporation, previously California, and since 2021, long before the defamation complaint of here, maintained its principal place of business in Texas and is therefore a citizen of the state other than New York. Lively is an actress and entrepreneur and is a citizen of New York. Factual background. It Ends With Us premiered at the AMC Lincoln Square in New York City on August 6, 2024. Although it was first shown weeks before in Texas at an event, Book Bonanza. Street was first approached on August 7th, 2024 by Tag PR about assisting it in social digital mitigation and remediation. Sorry, guys, we're just going to have to leave that one there. Regarding Wayfair Studios, I'm so sorry. My brain just kind of cracked there. On August 9th, 2024, Street began work on the 3-month project by monitoring social media regarding the movie and its 2 stars, but did not publish any information to third parties about the participants or anything else, but rather spotted trends about the public's reaction to the film and its stars and subsequently provided advice to Tag and Wayfair on those subjects. There you have it. He literally is saying, and you don't say this unless you're in Blake's camp, if it's not true, and he already made an affidavit saying that everything that he did do and didn't do. Plaintiffs have no involvement in the production of or marketing of the film and never interacted with Lively at any time. Lively, however, included plaintiffs in her sexual harassment, retaliation, CRD complaint, and draft complaint, and leaked those documents to the press and other third parties. Lively reasonably foresaw that her defamatory accusations against plaintiffs would be republished, and they were, all over the world, including in Texas, causing damage to plaintiffs. The CRD complaint alleged that Wallace and Street engaged in a variety of conduct in violation of California Government Code Section 12940, FIHA, and Title of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The CRD complaint went on to allege that Wallace's and Street's conduct includes sexual harassment, retaliation, failure to investigate, prevent, and or remedy harassment, and aiding and abetting harassment and retaliation. The CRD complaint also asked the reader to please see attached complaint for the specific details. The CRD complaint also asked the reader to please see attached complaint for specific details. The CRD attached was the draft complaint, which had many indicia of a standalone legal complaint. Indeed, some media later published the draft complaint under the headline, Read the Complaint. The draft complaint named Wallace and Street as defendant and sought damages for sexual harassment under California and federal law, retaliation under California and federal law, failure to investigate, prevent, or remedy harassment under California law, retaliation under the California Labor Code, aiding and abetting harassment and retaliation under California law, breach of contract, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, false light, invasion of privacy under the California Constitution, and interference with prospective economic advantage. Critically, however, the draft complaint was missing several indispensable components, such as name of the court, the cause number, the causes of action, the prayer for relief, including a statement of damages, the signature book for Lively's lawyer, although they were listed on the first page as customary in California, but not New York, where the case, minus the plaintiffs, was ultimately filed over a week later. So, wow, they're saying that they missed so much stuff, like literally just calling them out, like, brah, be so freaking for real, right? Adding to the confusion, Lively used ambiguous group pleading by lumping plaintiffs into phrases like Wayfarer parties, Wayfarer team, Tag Digital team, Baldoni team, respondents, and defendants that left a reasonable reader with the impression that all causes of action, severe allegations of sexual harassment, and violations of California and federal law are attributable to all defendants, including plaintiffs and or respondents. Beyond listing the causes of actions on the first page of the draft complaint, Lively makes several specific statements about plaintiffs. First, in paragraph 18, Lively specifically states that the plaintiffs are a Texas-based contractor who weaponized the digital army around the country to create, seed, and promote content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums, a false statement other than a Texas-based contractor. Second, the draft complaint identified Mr. Jed Wallace, an independent contractor based in Austin, Texas, who was retained by TAG to perform social media services on behalf of Wayfarer and Mr. Baldoni in connection with TAG's engagement. Wallace is an independent contractor and he is based in Texas near Austin. He was not, however, retained by TAG for any purpose, and it was false to say so. On top of the specific statements, the overall gist or sting of the draft complaint was that plaintiffs sexually harassed Lively and retaliated against her in violation of state and federal law. The gist was and is false. Lively went far beyond merely saying, "These are my allegations." Instead, she and her agents communicated them as standalone facts. Indeed, in the end of the draft complaint, she claimed that she had discovered the full extent of the retaliatory campaign launched by the Wayfarer parties. This is at odds with what she later told a Texas judge, that she needed Wallace's deposition to learn about his involvement in the alleged sexual harassment and perpetrated retaliation. She's lying again, my gosh. In court, Blake? You're saying one thing here and then you're going to Texas and lying? Holy moly. OMG. She also alleged in the draft complaint that Lively ought to set the record straight, to hold the Wayfarer parties and associates accountable, and to shine a light on this new form of retaliation. Elsewhere, Lively claims that retaliation is about the risk of her ever revealing the truth, which she claims to be doing in the draft complaint by shining a light and setting the record straight. Lively fully intended this draft complaint, a press release dressed as a not yet fully baked lawsuit, to be taken as statements of fact, including about the plaintiffs. Of course, she mistakenly thought that by purportedly attaching it to an administrative filing, she would create a privilege against the defamation action such as this. In any event, nothing in the CRD rules require a complaint with such specificity or to attach the incomplete. Jed Wallace's lawyers are a little petty and bitter, and I'm so here for it, like the way they even write here in brackets, incomplete. In any event, nothing in the CRD rules require a complaint which such specificity or to attach the incomplete draft complaint, which was totally gratuitous and unnecessary for Lively to obtain a right to sue letter. And some of the asserted claims in the draft complaint were not even within the California agency's jurisdiction. On the same day that the CRD complaint with the draft complaint purportedly attached was filed, December 20th, 2024, the Civil Rights Department issued Lively a right to sue letter. The CRD complaint, the draft complaint, and the right to sue letter were not posted online. There were no public filings to these documents on December 20th or at any time. The only way for a third party to obtain these documents was through a public information request or for the applicant to provide it themselves. Neither plaintiffs nor their representatives provided either the CRD complaint or the draft complaint to the media at any time. It is not plausible that news media became aware of the CRD complaint and the draft complaint through the filing and worked through the public information bureaucracy in time to post the draft complaint within hours of its filing, all at the beginning of a holiday weekend. Exactly what we've been saying. It's impossible. They were obviously all colluding together with the New York Times. It's impossible. But now we know that they had that sham lawsuit with probably a fake subpoena. Stephanie Jones gave them the phone. They contacted the New York Times. I mean, it's all coming together now like the big freaking puzzle, and it's so wild. There's no way that the New York Times scoured through all of those text messages, all thousands, they said thousands, within half a night. Okay, it's freaking impossible. And then wrote up the story so eloquently in this Hollywood big blasted story movie type way. Give me a freaking break. We know, for example, that one reporter had the complaints by at least 5:48 Pacific Time PM on the filing date. Other media piggybacked off the media's entity reporting, referencing that they got from that entity the draft complaint, which by then was on the media company's website. The false allegations against Wallace and Street made headlines around the world, according to Elle magazine, which linked to the draft complaint, as did many other media. Not only did Lively or her agents provide the CRD and draft complaints to various media entities for out-of-court republication, either directly or indirectly, but they were relied upon in a videotaped program that one media organization used to promote its upcoming article published on December 21st, 2024. Metadata within the video demonstrates that the video was created prior to December 20th and made use of both the CRD and drafts complaint. Right? Because the New York Times came out with a video. Megan Twohey was like, saying like, oh, whatever the friggin' video was, that like they didn't break any rules, they weren't colluding, da-da-da-da-da. But the metadata from that video was way before December 20th. And now there's metadata showing that the New York Times was creating this story since October. October, guys. Crazy. Despite listing 10 violations of California and federal law and alleging a major social media astroturfing campaign, Lively later admitted she knew of no facts to support the allegations against Wallace or Street. Lively filed her verified petition for Rule 202 deposition Texas lawsuit in Hays County, Texas, against Wallace, alleging that Wallace was a subcontractor to a company called TAG, and on information and belief it was to assist them in their unlawful retaliatory social combat campaign against Lively. The Texas lawsuit conceded that Lively has no facts supporting the allegations she made against Wallace and Street in the draft complaint, but that now, apparently under the threat of sanctions from one of plaintiff's attorneys, she sought to investigate the scope of Mr. Wallace's conduct. Lively's verified Texas lawsuit is replete with judicial admissions that Wallace worked remotely from Dripping Springs, Texas, a substantial part of the events giving rise to the claims that Lively seeks to investigate, specifically Mr. Wallace's work on the social manipulation campaign, occurred in Hays County, Texas. A substantial part of the underlying events that would give rise to the claims against Wallace being investigated occurred in Hays County, and Mr. Wallace resides in Hays County. It also admits that Lively lacked the critical evidence relevant petitioner's potential claims, the specifics of the conduct by Mr. Wallace. So that is why she was bringing the Texas lawsuit, for the discrete and specific purpose to investigate the nature and scope of Mr. Wallace's work, the very thing she had already leaked to the press as factual assertions. On top of admitting that she did not have the factual and evidentiary basis for the claims against plaintiffs, Lively knew that her timeline did not add up. Lively is very clear that she believes plaintiffs were hired no earlier than August 8th, 2024. They were actually approached on August 7th, but did not begin work until the 9th, and that even TAG was not engaged until August. But her own draft complaint shows negative sentiment towards her building in July. Girl, people were looking into you and showing you bad sentiment the moment you were cast as Lily Bloom. If you would have just rode out the wave, stuck with the people who were on your side, your millions of supporters by then, ignored all the negative, it would have gone away. Like, the fact that you were already getting bad publicity and bad negative sentiment online of July, and now you're saying that he did it in August. Your own timeline isn't matching up. That is crazy. I love that they put that in there. That is something to put on the timeline. Like, brah, like, get it through your head. This didn't happen. It's so crazy. This fact alone should have put Lively on notice that her accusations were false, or at least she was negligent for not inquiring. And it makes sense that she would lack that evidentially and factual basis, that she would lack the critical evidence and the specifics of the conduct by Mr. Wallace. Lively knew that the plaintiffs had not harassed her, and she had no evidence that they retaliated or were guilty of any of her other claims. Again, in the draft complaint, Lively paints a nefarious picture that Wallace, as an employee of Street, participated in an astroturfing campaign that published false and negative statements about her or boosted comments that did so. But that's not what Wallace did. Wallace's job was to read, analyze, and assess all forms of media and trends taking place with respect to various issues. Wallace did this limited role as an employee of Street, and all these tasks were performed in Texas. This job was in line with Wallace's work generally with respect to all forms of media. Specifically to the events related to Mr. Baldoni, Wallace's limited job was to conduct analysis of all forms of media, analyze the sentiment of the coverage, and then provide updates on the observations. After passively observing the social media environment, Wallace saw an organic outpouring of support for Baldoni and the film. Wallace's feeling, based on what he saw, was that no remedial actions needed to be taken at the time, and that everyone should let the sentiment on social media unfold organically. In addition to observing that people on social media organically supported Mr. Baldoni, there appeared to be a dislike for Miss Lively based on her tone-deaf promotion of the film. Therefore, Wallace's advice was not to do anything at that time and let the sentiment on social media continue to unfold organically. Because that role was strictly passive, both the specific assertions in the draft complaint as well as its general thrust and gist are false. Plaintiffs never published directly or indirectly any information or content, negative or otherwise, regarding Lively. Plaintiffs never seeded or promoted content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and in internet chat forums about It Ends With Us, Wayfarer, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, or any of Lively's or Reynolds' business or family. Plaintiffs have never asked or directed anyone to post about, comment on, or like any social media post about It Ends With Us, Wayfarer, Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, or any of Lively's or Reynolds' business or family. That makes each of the specific statements made in the draft complaint untrue. And taken together, Lively's gist or thrust of her draft complaint was untrue. The statements of fact, actual or implied, of and concerning plaintiffs in the draft complaint are false, defamatory, made with either negligence or actual malice, and have caused millions of dollars in reputational harm, including both general and special damages through emotional harm, actual damages, and real projected loss of business in an amount that exceeds $1 million. Specifically, Wallace and Street's business model primarily relies on an anonymity, not to post negative social media or to weaponize a digital army for an untraceable digital manipulation campaign, as Lively alleges, but to help ordinary people and some famous people to receive treatment from a variety of attacks, some physical. In addition, plaintiffs help some people and their families with their addictions by providing health plans and support. Oh my gosh, Jed. Absolutely. Ugh, she's such a monster. The false allegations of fact made with actual malice has meant that Wallace and Street have lost business. Worse than the economic toll is the assault on Wallace's emotional condition. Lively has blasted out in court filings, in this case, confidential health information about Wallace, despite this information being sealed in the New York case and in a redacted declaration, and in letters marked confidential. Yeah. So you want to move this case to New York, Blake, but then in the Texas court, you literally disclosed his medical information that was sealed in New York. You are a freaking monster. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but you are not a good person. Revenge and bitterness are going to eat up your heart until it's black and you have nothing left. Oh, the way that she did that, if you guys have been following me and you watched my video on that, heartbreaking. Like, and it's even more crazy is because she and her husband were fighting for attorney eyes only on her medical records. And then she freaking leaked his. Don't get me started. Wallace has suffered medical issues induced by Lively's actions. Look what you're doing, Blake. Wallace's stress began on December 20th, 2024, when plaintiff's world was turned upside down from the maliciously leaked CRD complaint and the draft complaint, which made totally false and fabricated allegations. Wallace's stress began on December 20th, 2024, when plaintiff's world was turned upside down from the maliciously leaked CRD complaint and the draft complaint, which made totally false and fabricated allegations against plaintiffs. Such physical manifestations are the strongest evidence of mental anguish damages. Such physical manifestations are the strongest evidence of mental anguish damages. Absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot agree with this more. The fact that you are physically responding and physically sick, if you are going through severe trauma or anguish or stress, it will come out in physical ailments. I have that happened to me before, and everyone knows that. Look, Justin Baldoni was put in the hospital during the post-production of It Ends With Us. Jed Wallace suffered. And Blake is claiming that she was so freaking traumatized and this caused her so much trauma that she went on to do Another Simple Favor straight away, and then went on to do a Vogue cover shoot, and then did the entire press of It Ends With Us while in the background tearing Wayfair and Justin Baldoni and pushing them out, and then was still able to do all of this other stuff. So what? I don't know. What do you guys think? Because trauma, when you're severely traumatized and impacted, it comes out in any way it needs to come out, and most times that is through physical ailments. This factual statement section incorporates all of the factual allegations in the introduction section of the amended complaint. So then they go into the jurisdiction and venue. I think it should definitely be in Texas now, knowing that Blake Lively filed an original lawsuit and then pulled it. What? In addition, Lively frequently visits Texas and did so in connection with promotion of the film, including the Texas Book Bonanza where she appeared. So yeah, I think it should be in Texas. Oh, look at that picture. Isn't it so freaking cute? Yeah, do you know who was supposed to be there? Do you know who was originally scheduled by Colleen Hoover and Sony? Yeah, it was Justin Baldoni. And if you watch my video on the timeline, you'll see that Justin was told months prior that he was going to be there. Yeah, that doesn't look like Justin Baldoni there, Blake Lively. Also, during Lively's multi-day appearance in Texas, she promoted the film. Discovery will reveal whether she made any additional defamatory remarks about plaintiffs during this appearances. She did, however, attempt to leverage her brand of sparkling drinks, Betty Buzz, with an ad campaign, It Ends With Buzz, playing off the film. Her take line for the drink was, "Every person with a mouth should drink this drink," and published a map with 43 locations between Waco and Austin where Buddy Buzz could be purchased. What? That's crazy. I mean, I know that she had like her drinks and stuff there, but like, girl, oh my gosh. So, wow. I just don't even know anymore what to say. Lively purposefully availed herself of the Texas forum by suing Wallace there. Her defamatory accusations were directed at their conduct in Texas, and all of the damage suffered by plaintiffs occurred in Texas. Furthermore, on information and belief, additional defamatory statements about plaintiffs were made by Lively at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and later in Waco, sorry. And these form the basis in part of this suit. Venue is proper because, as Lively alleges in her Rule 202 petition, a substantial part of the underlying events that would give rise to the claims being investigated occurs in Hays County, part of the Austin Division of the Western District. Lively's defamatory statements were 100% directed at Texas, targeting Texas residents, and were published in Texas. Her out-of-court publication of the CRD and draft complaints were directly published by her press, and to the extent they weren't, she could reasonably foresee that they would be republished around the world, but specifically in Texas. Finally, she made additional repeated defamatory comments in Texas during an appearance, which occurred at least after this lawsuit. Venue is proper here. So then they could just go into the causes of action. So the first cause of action is defamation and defamation per se. Of course, the draft complaint and CRD complaint, which were published by defendants, were of and concerning Wallace and Street, and falsely stated that they had engaged in 10 illegal, including criminal acts under state and federal law. It is defamatory to falsely accuse someone of sexual harassment and retaliation for reporting the sexual harassment. The defendant's publication, including identical or similar statements that she made in Austin, Texas, and upon information and belief, Austin and Waco caused plaintiffs damage. Defendant was at fault in publishing the defamatory statements because she did not act as a reasonably prudent publisher. That is, she was negligent as evidenced by her withdrawal of the Texas lawsuit, which would have revealed the truth. You would have seen the truth, baby girl, if you didn't. Another shady lawsuit. Oh my God. Neither the draft complaint nor the CRD complaint were privileged because, among other reasons, they were provided by the defendant or her agents to third parties, including many media outlets. We already know that. Defendants knew or should have reasonably anticipated. Indeed, she hoped. Oh my gosh. Sorry, my foot's falling asleep again. Defendants knew or should have a reasonably anticipated. Indeed, she hoped that these allegations would be republished around the world. As a result, defendant is responsible for republication damages. The statements of fact of and concerning plaintiffs in the CRD and draft complaints are false and defamatory. They are made either negligently or with actual malice. The statements have caused both the original publications and the republications around the world great harm to the plaintiffs, and such damages are presumed if some or all the statements are defamatory or per quote, if not per se, and in any event exceed $1 million. In considering whether the $75,000 jurisdictional amount has been reached, the court can take notice for many recent awards. Although Lively is a public figure, Wallace and Street are not. Thus, plaintiffs need prove only negligence to establish liability. However, plaintiffs also seek punitive damage in an amount not less than $6 million. And to satisfy the evidentiary burden and establish, is that right? And to satisfy the evidentiary burden in establishing the right to such damages, they must demonstrate actual malice, that Lively either knew the allegations were false at the time she made them, or she acted in reckless disregard of the truth. That is, she had a high degree of awareness of falsity and in fact entertained serious doubt about the truth. She acted with actual malice because she was the one claiming to have been harassed and retaliated against. She was the one who claimed she had a contract with plaintiffs, and yet there was no such contract, and plaintiffs were nowhere near where the alleged harassment retaliation took place. Lively knew this, and It is not the case that she was harassed by some mass stranger who turned out to be the plaintiffs. She knew and knows that they were not the harasser retaliators, but made these allegations anyway, leaked them to the press hoping they would be widely republished, which they were, but then excluded plaintiffs from the real complaint, knowing they had nothing to do with the events depicted therein. When she had the opportunity to learn the true facts through her Texas lawsuit, she intentionally turned away and dismissed the litigation. The defamatory statements are per se because they accuse plaintiffs of conduct which is criminal. In addition, the defamatory statements injure plaintiffs in their office, profession, or occupation and are thus per se. That is, damages are presumed and plaintiffs are entitled at least to nominal damages, and the damage case may get to the jury without any proof of damage. All of the statements of facts from the previous sections are incorporated in this section by reference. Conclusion. Sadly for plaintiffs, they find themselves in the middle of this coast-to-coast, ginormous Hollywood litigation between two of America's leading film stars regarding events which plaintiffs had nothing to do with, purportedly occurring during filming of the movie It Ends With Us and thereafter its marketing. The problem for defendant, of course, is that Wallace has never met Lively and certainly has never harassed her, was never on the set of the film where the sexual harassment apparently occurred, and could not have investigated, prevented, or remedied the claim harassment if it occurred. Because for one reason, he had no knowledge of it and still doesn't. He certainly had no power to remedy it, as he was not and has never been her or Baldoni's employer, and did not retaliate against Lively for claiming he, Wallace, or anyone else sexually harassed her. Neither he nor Street ever contracted with her. And he says he has also never met Justin Baldoni. Plaintiffs therefore respectfully request that this court enter a final judgment and award damages for Wallace's loss of reputation and emotional distress in the amount of at least $1 million and punitive damages in amount of at least $6 million, and Street's loss of reputation in amount not less than $1 million and punitive damages in the amount of at least $6 million. Okay. And yet they're out here like this, all hunky-dory, smiley, everything is okay. Are you serious? OMG, that was wild. Good for Jed Wallace for standing up for himself. I think that was like really well done and super written, very descriptive. We get the whole picture. He's literally like, brah, this is crazy. You know, I can't believe that Blake Lively filed a lawsuit against him in Texas, admitting that she had nothing, and then withdrew her lawsuit. What? Just like she filed that sham lawsuit with Van Zandt to get the subpoena for Stephanie Jones and then withdrew that lawsuit the day before she filed her CRD. I mean, if anything, this has to be some kind of like abuse of the legal system. It's definitely morally corrupt. It's definitely disgusting and wrong. I mean, it's so crazy, guys. Anyway, let me know what you think. And thank you so much for being with me when I read all of this stuff, because as someone who like grew up saying that like I was dyslexic and had learning disabilities and was literally treated like really stupid and dumb my entire life, that, you know, it kind of sticks with you. And I was actively working on that for like the last like 5 or 6 years of like this limited self-belief of like being stupid. And so like reading out loud and like reading court docs, like I know I mess up some words and stuff and it's like jokes now, but just like thanks so much, because that honestly, it does do something for me, you know, and it means a lot to me. And I'm not just saying that, I truly mean it. I was thinking about this last night before I was going to bed, like the little girl me in therapy, because, you know, for many things, but being told, you know, dyslexic and whatever, could never see me now, here with like this YouTube channel and reading court documents and have opinions the way I have opinions and be brave enough, strong enough, and intelligent enough to be able to articulate them while being entertaining and inspiring at the same time. And I just think, I was just thinking about that last night, and there are just moments where you're like, man, I think she would be really happy and proud. I don't know, I'm about to cry. What? Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Honestly, it really obviously affects me, and I just feel like truly blessed sometimes to have this community and you guys here. And yeah, it's an honor. Honestly, it's a freaking honor. And thank you. Thank you for trusting me, and thank you for listening to me blab on and sometimes just vent and rant. And yeah, I started my day today. I volunteer in the summer. I started at the latter half of the summer last year at the community center across the street from me. There was this big, huge garden, and every Sunday we meet. And I had started kind of like later in the summer. Obviously, I was going through a lot of stuff at the time and was off work, and I saw this posting in the laundry room of my condo building saying like they were looking for volunteers to go help at the community center. So I went, and I did it every Sunday for about 2 months, and it was at like the end of the season. And today we started back up, so I got to see it from the beginning. I broke 2 nails. Okay, that's okay. It was worth it. But today, while we were there, and I hadn't done that before because I wasn't there at the beginning of last season. I already said that like 8 times. But today we went, and what I didn't know, because this is my first time gardening, and it's a huge, huge garden. You know, it's massive with all these benches, and the community really loves it. And I love it. I go there and on my days off in the summer, and I lay under the sun and read and you know, soak up the beauty of the flowers and the squirrels and the birds, and so they had all of this growth, right, that had died from the flowers, and we had to go and chop down all of the dead stuff so that it would grow again. And I didn't know that you do that, but I guess there's certain flowers that, you know, seasonally they will just come back up, but you have to like cut it down. And I was thinking that is so cool, because I was like thinking it about life and like my own life, and I was thinking if we could all recognize this stuff that is like in our souls not aligning with us and are, you know, is kind of killing us in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like because it's preventing you from being the person that you're supposed to be, or it's preventing you by living fully and expanding and shining and affecting others and, you know, being your true authentic self. If we can look inside of ourselves and figure out, you know, what season we're in now and what we need to cut out in order to go into the season, and then into a season of blooming, into the summer, quote unquote, we can do that, do you know? Because change is always happening. Every single second, every single minute, we're changing. We're changing, like seasons change, and like plants change, and trees, and the leaves fall off and then they come back. We're doing that already. We're always changing, but can we intentionally change? And can we look inwards and really snip out the parts that are no longer serving us so that we can grow into the season and grow beautiful and big and bloom and, well, lily bloom. That's weird. But does that making sense? Yeah, I was just thinking about that today while I was chopping up all this stuff, and I was like, man, it really takes like some serious self-reflection to figure out what you can also trim and cut out of your life so that you can show up and be your full self and bloom, you know? And yeah, so I don't know. I was just thinking about that today, and I really just want to say, like, if you have like an hour of your time a week or a month and you can volunteer and help your community, I think it's so awesome. You never know who you're going to meet, what you're going to learn, what you're going to do, and it really impacts the people around you. And I think, imagine if everyone in every neighborhood just volunteered an hour of their time in whatever service, give it the church or garden, community center, elderly home, shelters, whatever it is, you know, how much better that neighborhood could be, because it's like everyone's little like piece, you know? So if you have any time whatsoever, if you can just offer one day a month or an hour a month, whatever you have, an hour a week, yeah, do it. I think, you know, do it. And today I was riding the elevator. I just come back from getting groceries, and I saw a woman in the elevator, and we were talking about the weather because it was so beautiful today. Like, we were just so blessed by the sunshine, and it was such a gorgeous day. And she was telling me like, oh, I can't wait to be able to go sit outside in like the garden across the street. And I was like, oh, I was just there today. We trimmed all the stuff. Like, it's going to bloom. And she was like, thank you so much. She's like, I love sitting out there. She's like, it's like my little piece of heaven. It's my safekeeping. And I love being out there. Like, thank you so much for the work you do. And I was like, well, I didn't do it to get a thank you, but that feels so good, you know, to know that, yeah, just your little actions and like, I don't know. It can impact so many people, and you never know how you're going to impact others, but to be of service to others and to be of service to your community, I just think is so beautiful, you know? But anyway, that's what I'm going to leave you with. So, I don't know. There it is. I hope you're having the best day. Drop all of your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading some comments out this week. And yeah, anyway, what a wild roller coaster. A wild, wild, wild ride. Okay, this is unbelievable. But yeah, I don't know. I hope you're having the best day. Drop your comments. And like always, I love you. Thank you for being here. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.